Since day one, everyone. A lot of people have asked me, have we added AI in our name after we started the company, or was it since the beginning?
It was there, I think, since the beginning. At that time, we were not living in a world of agents, not like today at least. We started with building the first tabular models, either being probability default models or LGDs, and now we have added more and more capabilities in our stack.
And back then, people were always telling me how crazy we were to put AI on our name because, as we well know, finance doesn't really accept a 99.5% accuracy, but they need 100% accuracy. So how difficult was it for us to think about, and how crazy at the same time, to really be so strong in this vision of having AI since day one and thinking about this opportunity and potential in really giving more time, freedom, and power to people that work in our industry. Because as we know, this is a very fragmented system and market. A lot of systems have been built in a siloed way, meaning when we talk about accounting systems, they are built for accountants. When we talk about trustee reports, trustees built for themselves. When we talk about originators have their own loan origination systems, and they all are built for their own purpose. There is no single system that has been built for the asset manager, specifically for ABF and private credit. And at that time, and I just talk about myself, I was fighting day and night with spreadsheets, like I think a lot of you guys have done as well. And I was fighting with collaborating because I was sending one version to somebody that was checking that and then looking at it the other day and waiting for his answer and so on and so forth. So as much as I appreciated the control of the models and data that I was doing, I was also not appreciating it all the time. I was losing with this very old way of working. And back then I was listening to a lot of new innovations coming up in Silicon Valley, like flying cars, self-driving cars, and now we're still running on spreadsheets. And unfortunately, a lot of our current potential prospects are doing the same after 8 years, 7 years that we started the company.
First of all, one has to appreciate the complexities that we see with our clients. Like they have sometimes 200 different data sources. Some of them they are Excel, some of them they are PDFs, some of them they are like databases, right? And each of these data sources comes in different canonical models and different models per se that the asset manager has to put in and standardize, normalize. And sometimes it's not only a question of do I get the normalization right? It's also a question of how can I predict what the new loan behavior will be. And that's where things get complicated because everybody can, even 4 years ago would have been able to create an ETL, right, or an ELT that does that job. But without AI, predicting those behaviors, understanding how to create a pipeline that not only normalizes the data today, but it will also normalize the data tomorrow without me going and, being there all the time, required us to think about the approach and come up with an approach of using AI to do this job. Not now, but like years ago, when we were planning about the architecture and the fundamentals. And another key consideration was, do we do what others were doing at that time, like using a relational database or using some simple database solutions to store this data, which, as probably a lot of people now can reason that in AI agent world that doesn't look as a good solution as well, because having like thousands of agents acting on those databases, for sure it blocks you from operating. And that's where we got in touch with the newest data formats like Parquet in the beginning, and then moved to Delta, and then now we've moved entirely to Iceberg, which is allowing us to build our data platform with a combination of Iceberg, Trino, and a lot of newer technologies, which, by the way, are proving to be very successful right now in an area of agents, because we can run, right now, our technology is being used by agents as we speak, and unfortunately, you cannot control how much the agents are going to use your system. You don't have that natural constraint that humans have, right? I click a button, I run the query, I run the analytic. Now you could have 1,000 processes hitting your services. So it's this challenge that is driving engineering at Cardo.
Yeah, the market has been going for years asking if the advantage was in the software, in the data, and now more recently in AI. We thought since the beginning to put all these three elements together to provide our clients the maximum advantage that they can from our solution. And why do that? Because we see that ABF is such a complex market where you cannot just read one single data point in isolation, but you need to benchmark it, you need to understand where those data come from, how do they compare with the market, you need to understand if an originator is giving you a right data for dataset classes. You can do that only by comparing that data with those that are in the market. And so what we decided to do was to bring all these three silos together and to deliver to our client a comprehensive solution that runs workflows in the software using the data that we give to our client, and on top of that we create, or the client can create, agentic workflow. Each of these steps combines together, but there are clear boundaries between what is software and what is AI. Because in our market, people need very reliable and precise calculation. We have seen examples whereby a difference of 0.1 cents create a doubt on the precision of the calculation. And so people want replicable and trustable numbers. And that's where the software comes in. And then on top of those numbers, AI can do its work, which is reasoning on top of those numbers, creating commentaries, understanding the numbers, build narrative around those numbers. And so adding an additional layer of value on top of precise, reliable, replicable numbers.
Let me ask you, why did you join Cardo AI in the first place?
So I was working in investment banking, and I had very bad experience with technology provider, because they lack the experience from the industry. So I thought, what if we can deliver solution that comes from expert in the industry, so that our client don't need to bridge the gap between the technology and the industry knowledge. And we do that bridge, and so we bring them solution that they can use from day one.
And thinking about, because you mentioned, Marco, about software, data, and AI, and every day passes by where we hear some new agent being built and some new foundation model being released. There is this catch to the novelty, there is this fear of missing out. How would you recommend a client to decide upon this? So what are the main critical questions that a client should think about on deciding what would their AI strategy be?
I think that clients should start to ask themselves, where do I want to create value? So what's my edge? Is it in building technology, or is it in finding the best investment strategy for my investors? And since the answer is most probably finding the best investment strategy, they should focus on that. And so building the narrative and the strategy, the decision on top of tools that can serve them the right data for take those decisions. At Cardo AI, we want to be the source of truth. We want to provide the right data, the right information that the asset manager can use to take those decisions and deliver value to their clients.
And what we see now in the market are two probably main drivers. One is solving complexity. Complexity is increasing more data sources, different type of analytics in order to evaluate our investments, right? And the second one is flexibility, okay? So we could have multiple use cases. We want to solve all of them. We want to give our clients the possibility to be, to solve this problem independently, right? So all these kind of things can be solved by using a multi-layer infrastructure, for example. But as also Marcus said, reliability is something that is very important for us. So we need to combine this new technology with high reliability. It's a trade-off between flexibility, reliability, right, and solving complexity. So this is where we are different from all the others, in my opinion. So we can create and develop software and data and infrastructure that combine these three things together. And we can provide a very good software platform for our clients.
And thinking about the first time we met, I think we did an interview together. You were working at the research lab. How is it different from what you do now? Because this is a very true application, outcome-driven software that allows you to really benefit from certain actions and calculations and analytics. And research is very different. You are looking for the breadth of the knowledge in that specific vertical, and you cannot stop getting there. So get me through that motion. And first of all, are you happy that you did the change? Or
Absolutely,
not?
I'm very happy with that. But times are changing, and I would say maybe 5 to 10 years ago, research was very far from industry. But now, gaps is closing, is getting much closer, because we have this new type of technology that help us to have research really here in the company. We can do research by ourselves every time using this type of technology. Of course, something that is very important for us is to bring this new technology as fast as possible to our clients. So this means that we have to do research by ourselves, right? And this is what we are currently doing. And a lot of this new technology are going to provide great values for our clients.
How far away you think, Stefano, we are from a place where you have one person asset manager doing everything with 10,000 agents supporting his job?
It really depends. This is a very tough question because we want to have human in the loop. We are developing technology to have human in the loop. Reliability is super important, as I already mentioned, so we need to have someone that is checking that everything is 100% fine all the time, right? So for us it's very important to have human in the loop. I'm not sure that we are going to have one single asset manager and 10,000 agents in the future, but for sure we're going to provide great value and the best agent possible to support the work.
And when it comes to all of these agents you're talking about, Stefano, do you think, and maybe I'll call you out here, Tommy, do you think that the LLMs and the foundation models that we have today are the answer to all the problems that you see in the market, or are you exploring new avenues and new models?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it covers a shift that is happening in the industry, especially with tabular data, which is actually 90% of the data each company has. Everyone remembers a few years ago with the LLMs, people starting to chat with AI, and we are seeing the same kind of change with tabular data. So I'll just talk from experience. I've been working with tables before when I was working in insurance, and since I joined Cardo on loan default modeling. And one of the issues that we have been having is whenever you change the schema of the data you have to retrain the model. Let's say that a client comes with data that you didn't see when the model was trained, you have to retrain the model. Anything new, the model cannot ingest. It has to see it before. But since the end of 2024, and we are seeing, especially now in 2026, tabular foundation models have come and are tackling these issues. So you don't need to show models the same data that you saw from historical data. You can just plug in a new data source, being it an alternative data source, or maybe a client has transactions which another does not have. or columns that another client does not have, and this becomes in-context learning. This
And
just
Tommy, sorry, because this is very interesting, right? We have been struggling in finance, representing this tailwind risks that are probably seen in other domains, right? For example, think about other domains that risk was more present than in finance. These foundation models, which you've been working with, they already have that knowledge, right? From these other domains that can help the...
Exactly, they are, as LLMs were trained, so I think ChatGPT appears in September 2022 or autumn 2022. The reasoning behind it is I'm going to show these models like billions of tokens, right? Billions of words. In the Tabular Foundation model setting, they're doing the same with tables. You don't have billions of tables, but many of these are generating synthetic data up to hundreds of millions of data sets, and so that the model will see any kind of pattern between this data.
But isn't that a reason to not trust the model itself if it's being trained on synthetic data and not real data?
No. There is like the first reason I would bring to this is benchmarks. Benchmarks are done on real data sets, and benchmarks are done compared to models that are trained on those data sets, and still the tabular models, especially on small and medium data sets, are outperforming the gradient boosting models, which have been state of the art for the last 9-8 years. And I said small, and this is super important, because if you are a bank, and we know this from our use cases, you might not want to share all your loan tape, like all your history of data. But maybe you are prone to share, I don't know, a few thousand loans and just see how the model works. Previously, you could not do that because the model needs a lot of data to be trained. Now, with a few thousand loans, that's just context for the Tabular Foundation model. The parallel is the same as LLMs. When you talk to an LLM, the better the prompt, the more information you give, even in the goal you have, the better the answer you receive. The same with tables. The better the context, which might be for a loan default model, oh, I know also an alternative data source like the Fed interest rates that might be handy to predict the loans. I just put it into context, the model improves. We saw also after ChatGPT was released and all the competitors that people started to fine-tune these models on their industry, legal industry, accounting industry, or whatever. One can do the same and fine-tune this on the private credit industry. This is what we are exploring so that we go beyond the Tabular Foundation model and we improve it on our kind of data.
So it's not only better workflows, efficiencies around decision making, but it's also more intelligence with fewer data points and also alternative data.
Yeah.
How reliable are the results? Because one of the key questions that we receive from our clients is if I use any ML model, it's very difficult to interpret the results. And there are some alternatives to run those interpretations, but how do you help the clients to really get to the interpretation layer of how that model worked and what kind of data it used? So is there also a lineage of the model logics behind what you guys do, and how did you bring that to practice?
Great question, and on this topic, answers are still ongoing. Like there are, on these benchmarks, you see different models from different companies which are surpassing one another week after week. And this also pertains to the interpretability of the models. So some of these have the same interpretability level of the gradient boosting models that have been used in the industry for the last 8 years. The development of, let's say, the agentic framework actually has allowed us to bring to the user, we have this in our dashboards where we not only show the predictions we do on the loans, but also why the model made that prediction. And we can bring all the artifacts of the model, which for trees can be the actual trees, it can be the historical, the history of the risk of that particular loan, other data sources, even unstructured, that we bring in, and we let the agent combine that knowledge with the artifacts of the model, and then we give a full explanation to the person who has to, the CRO, let's say, who has to handle the loan, decide what to do with this high-risk loan, and strategize on it.
And one of the things that you typically mention to me when we designed the roadmap of AI products and the AI thesis around us, you always mention this 20% to me, and it's in my head all the time. And I know, because I've studied business myself, so the 80-20% rule applies in all the fields of life, but this 20% keeps on resonating. Can you explain that to me more in details? What do you mean on the 20% that is really relevant?
Yes, so we can take two versions of that if you want. One version is like more on our day-to-day, like the 80-20 is, usually people come to us, internal clients or business analysts come to us and ask us, can you do this? So the 80% answer is you can just do it with an LLM app. You can do it yourself. More and more you can do that, and our analysts who are very good can definitely do that. Sometimes they just don't know they can. So we just tell them, okay, just do it with Claude or OpenAI or whatever you have there. The 20% is what we usually take care of. So it's the longer term, higher value added, which needs a bit of research, maybe a lot of research sometimes. So that was one of the, I would say, interpretations. The other interpretation is language models keep getting better. Language models one day is going to be tabular models, large tabular models or foundational tabular models. So in that sense, they're going to catch more and more and get more and more of what we do on a daily basis. The problem there, the problem and the solution there is that, or maybe the resources, that people don't have time for, maybe they have something that can take, again, the 80% in this case is they have standard problems. So maybe some amount of data to be handled this way. So maybe some transaction, ABF transaction to be modeled this way. And there's a lot of them. So a lot of transactions, they all look more or less the same. But then there's the 20% of it, which is extremely hard, extremely complex, and people often don't even have the time to model it, even to reason with Claude or with whatever language model you have there about the problem and the solution. That's also something that as a company we do. We take care of that 20% there. So I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
We believe in a future where asset managers will likely run agents. So they will have an agent that structures the deal, another agent that does the review of the work of agent one, probably an agent that is a valuation agent for a particular deal. And maybe we will see also a future where we support an asset manager that is a solo founder, and actually he's competing both on AUM perspective, but also on an alpha gain perspective with asset managers that have teams of 200 people. And we want that asset manager to be sort of, I operate in this way because of Cardo.
No, I think that we have seen and we are seeing a constant evolution of what the technology does and how the technology supports the process of our clients. Technology is moving from simply substituting some very, very small pieces of the process to leading the process and substituting what people used to do in terms of crunching the data, getting the files, putting them together, and providing an output. And so agents will be more and more leading all these data preparation and this workflow that will lead the data to be available to a human to take a decision. I think that the human will still be there to take the most important decision, while all the preparation work will be done by agents. And agents, that doesn't mean that it's going to be just a straight process from the data to a KPI, but it's going to be multiple processes whereby agent will challenge each other, will review each other work to get to a more and more accurate outcome that can really support a data-driven decision taken by a human. I don't think that in 2 years, probably not even in 5, the most important decision will be taken by agents, but the human will still be there to take them.
And Marco, on this, what about governance? Because a lot of asset managers we have talked to, they are scared about the implications of.
Yeah, no, in our industry, data governance is key. Everyone, as you were saying, is obsessed by the data, even because in some cases data are shared among multiple parties within a transaction, because you have an originator who is giving its data to investors, investors that can be asset manager who then has to provide data to LPs. So there are multiple flow of data, so good control on where those data are stored and who can access them is key. And so we dealt with this since the very beginning, and we are applying the same level of rules that we were applying to human, also to agents and LLMs. So we are keeping constant monitoring of where the data are, where do they reside. We are very well delimiting who can access those data, creating different tenants for different clients so that the data are physically and logically separated. And on every data there are rules who determines who can access them, and agents are among those who to whom the rules are applied.
I guess, and this is probably the way in which we are developing part of our system, is using agents as orchestrators. So these agents are going to be able to access many tools, and all these tools, which is like software that we develop, they could be models, they could be simulations, they could be any type of analytics. This software is deterministic. We designed this software, we developed this software. The only thing that the agent is going to be able to do is interpret the specific use case and understand what piece of software he has to use, right? So everything that comes out from that piece of software is going to be deterministic, replicable, and everything, right? So this is probably one of the ways we could say that replicability is something that we can guarantee using even a multi-agent layer.
When you buy Cardo, you buy not only the software, but also the skills and the knowledge that comes with it. It's this 8 years of knowledge of modeling waterfalls, cash flow simulations, or even collateral mappings. And we have mapped a lot of originators in our 8 years, right? So think about it. Even if you are working with 5 transactions, and let's say you are working with, I don't want to mention originator names here, but originator X, and you have seen a lot of loans or collateral pools from this originator X. Unfortunately, you haven't seen the entire universe of all the behaviors in those loans, right? But because Cardo has been there for 8 years, working with X number of clients, we have seen those X, Y behaviors. And our models are working with that knowledge, and that knowledge is embedded there, and you access that knowledge. So it's, even if the LLM is going to do a lot of the work, which we believe it will, it's going to benefit a lot from this knowledge that we already have in the execution layer.
That's
So I will talk about the product, which is my domain, and I think the future will see a more and more integrated way to access the technology, whereby there's going to be less say, separation between different tools and different solutions, where the user will mostly interact through LLMs, which will become a sort of super apps that will call multiple tools and multiple procedures, and so Cardo would be one of those tools. It's going to be the source of truth for whatever is related to private market, and our clients will be able to build their own brain, build their own workflow, build their own agents that act on top of the data and the process that we're going to provide them.
Aaron, what is your vision for the next 5 years?
It's a lot of things. So I fully agree with the team here. So we will see a lot more agentic workflows, right? And Cardo is definitely preparing for it. I think we have done all the steps we can for now to make sure that we are agent ready, and we are continuously seeing what is the missing piece every week that goes by. So there will be agents running. We are not thinking anymore about users. So these agents will have different skills. Cardo is not going to be only the execution layer, but it is also going to be a layer where these skills live and are not static skills. A skill that the next time the agent comes alive, being it in Claude or OpenAI, it's equipped with more skills than yesterday. Because why? A new deal has been added to Cardo. A new waterfall has been seen in your tenant, right? A new capability was introduced yesterday. So the clients are not, of course they will have their own LLMs, as we said, right? But they are not only counting on having a smarter system because there is a new release of the LLM, right? They're also counting that there is a compounding factor because I'm using Cardo.
Mm-hmm.
So the new knowledge that went in yesterday, it's making all my agents smarter and smarter. And of course this gives it gives more alpha to the asset managers that understand it earlier than later, like every other opportunity out there.
So what is there is a lot of debate around the AI industry around the fact that the knowledge cost goes to zero. We've seen it with coding, even though we're hiring more software engineers than before. And I see also the market demanding them more as we go forward. How do you think about the fact that a lot of people demand now knowledge to be almost at a zero cost across the board, even though you are at a vertical, domain constrained vertical, right, and sector, and towards the fact that we all are building this big AI infrastructure that allows people to really create, right? So it's almost like passing from consume to creation.
Yeah, I see.
And what we have seen in the software, 20, 30 years has been a company does the software, creates a great SaaS motion, people start using it and consume whatever the SaaS company does. Today, users are very different. They're like, I can create my own workflow, I can create my own software. I need to create what I have in my mind. I don't need to be constrained by whatever the provider has constrained me. So how do you think about this this change in paradigm in the market where people demand a different type of service now, which is not anymore SaaS and whatever the others are doing, but it's more me and whatever I want to do?
Yeah.
Get me through that logic.
So I think it's understandable that the world is changing. The SaaS world specifically is changing from let's build a standardized solution to more I can build my own my own puzzle and my own software that really fits me, and I can live with that, right? What we are seeing though, there is specifically in our industry, there is a benefit of having a solution that enables you to do things that they are not only custom to you. Every new structure that I can, like a new technology provider introduces and manages to solve, for an asset manager, maybe not today, but tomorrow can be an opportunity to upscale its operations there, right? ABF is not one it's a one strategy from a private markets perspective, but when you go inside, you will see like 50 different asset classes. And actually if you try to build a consumer loan data model yourself, and if you go to Claude today, probably somebody from the audience will try to do that, it will give you a data model. But then if you start capturing the data for the next 3 years with that data model, and then you realize, oh, I missed 5 fields, what do you do at that point, right?
Yeah. You missed 5 years actually, not
You
5 fields.
missed 5 years. So having that decision, it's not about using AI because the cost of knowledge is zero. Actually, making sure that response there is the right response, because it's a response that you will live the next 5 years with. There will be an analyst like 2 years from now asking you about CDR, and probably no CDR you understand early on if you have done it correctly, but something specific, and then you cannot go back to your data anymore. That's the kind of opportunity cost you are faced if you don't have a good framework to understand what's good and what good looks like. And that's why probably you are an asset manager, as Marco shared before. Your core is doing more deals and better deals. You should leave that decision you should leave the infrastructure of your private debt and private market strategy to a company like Cardo. That's one point.
And if you can add, AI is pushing everyone to move faster, and so doing a step back and start to rebuild what's already there is not moving faster. To move faster, you have to build on the edge what's already available and bring your own logic, your own edge to give value to your clients.
Where do you see, you said AI in the next 5 years, you didn't answer.
You didn't ask me, so now that you asked me, I can answer. I agree with your vision, guys, a lot. It's gonna move very fast, as we see. I feel like it's not gonna be as aggressive as in the other industries. So we will still have a lot of fragmented workflows. I see a lot of need for creation infrastructure, and that's why I want to position Cardo AI as that player, whereby people can create their own logics with a standardized view of a very powerful source of truth of the market. And that goes through workflows, through data, through models, through new foundation models that we just discussed, through new research that is coming up. Because did we ever know that new tabular foundation models would come into 26 when we started this company 7 years ago? I don't think so. So, I mean, why I'm very excited about this market is because every time we push the limits, new things are coming up and new ways could benefit the way we work. But I would question myself is if in the next 5 years we realize the vision I had since day one, which is this video of one person running at the park and switching on his Apple Watch or whatever, a digital watch, and talking to people through an agent and trying to understand the performance of specific funds, of specific deals, and guiding the agents to direct the workflows to his other people that are maybe taking the call from somewhere else, and he would do his job in 1 hour instead of 8 hours as he did before. So I feel like the general vision I have for the next 5 years is really to empower people that so far today have done a lot of manual work operationally, to take off the operational hurdles and bottlenecks forever and ever. But there will be a lot of stress around very good decision making on what to be done next, because this general knowledge will be available to a lot of people and there is no escape from it. So whoever takes the best decision is going to win. And this is not going to be who invests more in AI, but who has the best orchestration layer, who has the best multi-complex solution layer that Stefano was talking, who has the right source of truth that Marco was talking before, and who spends the right amount of time to take the right decision. So time switches from running operations to taking better decisions and finding new opportunities. And lastly, I would say there is going to be a big proliferation of roles, meaning as we see now in software engineering, product managers become software engineers become product managers. Next thing you know, somebody wants to become the CEO of the company, so let's see. But the idea is a lot of proliferation of roles within the same company, but also within the industry. So LPs playing GP roles, GP playing LPs, or banks playing GPs, or banks and GPs playing servicers and originators, because wherever there will be economics to extract from the value chain, people will go through, and whenever there is value, I think it's going to be easier to catch that value in time than today, because now we have a lot of thresholds and blocking walls because of the operational complexity, which we're going to go to zero very, very soon. So I think that is where in the next 5 years the market will be, and I'm super excited to get there with all of you and with many more people to come to the table.